off about asking a general question. I suppose it's a bit sort of technical, really, because I used to teach theatre studies at A-level, and so we were, going through the method and Stanislavski and all that stuff. I'm interested in the question of what is the difference between playing a human being as an actor and playing an alien. And I know, Jemma, I don't think you've played aliens, have you? But I know you were Titania in Midsummer Night's Dream.
She's a fairy.
She's a fairy. But she's not like a person, not Homo sapiens.
She was when I played her.
Bang goes that question. How difficult is it? I mean, the Doctor's immensely aged, and Daphne, you were in Deep Space Nine under a lot of prosthetics and so on. How do you do it?
How do you do it?
Yeah,
that's the question.
That's the question. How do you do it? How do you do it?
How do you do it?
You go.
Come on, how do you do it?
I just sat in the chair and let them stick all that stuff on my head. Took 4.5 hours, and you're kind of exhausted all the time.
That's a lot of time to think then.
A lot of time to think.
How are you going to do it?
Well, the most difficult part for that part, Melora, was there's all this gobbledygook, all this language, chunks and chunks and chunks of language that was made up. I mean, I didn't know what it was. And so you kind of have to just memorize without any understanding of what you're actually saying. And they were sticklers, man. You miss one word, you got to go all the way back to the beginning of the scene and start over again. It was kind of terrifying. So they gave me one break, which was when I had to pick up a bunch of worms that I was about to eat.
I like that.
And I didn't know I had such a problem with riding earthworms, but I almost threw up. I kept on having to stop myself from throwing up, and they thought it was hilarious. And so they put a bucket next to me, and that was the only time they let me cut. Right after I picked the worms up and I'm about to eat it, then they would cut and let me throw up if I needed to, and then I could pick the scene up from right there instead of going all the way back to the beginning.
Have we all seen Melora? Have we all seen the DS9 episode?
Nobody. Thank you.
So there's a bit where Daphne has to eat a load of gach, is it?
Yeah, gach.
Gach.
Yeah.
And they were actual earthworms.
They were actual earthworms that they put, this is so gross and sad, because I'm sure it was torture for these little things, but they put them in warm water so they'd writhe.
Yeah.
Isn't that awful? And we're talking bowls full of these things.
That's the future, that's what we're going to be living on, isn't it?
Actually, supplementary question, quick one. Can you still speak Klingon?
Not at all. No memory of it whatsoever.
Paul, Jemma.
What?
Same question. Not can you still speak Klingon? I mean, apparently, if you say Benedict Cumberbatch in a gruff voice, it sounds like you're cursing in Klingon. Anyway, is it different playing non-human characters?
I haven't played a non-human character.
Totally.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Well, that's just brilliant. That's blowing me out the water. I doubled up in the same scene and spoke to myself as a Zygon, and that was it was brilliant. I had it's a fantastic sort of acting challenge, and it's very freeing because as a Zygon you can be whatever you want to be in the moment. It's not quite the same as playing psychopath, but I suppose it's not far off. And as Kate, you have to. You're very much. There's an objective, and a human sensibility. So it was really exciting. I loved that.
Paul?
What?
Same question.
The Doctor, he ain't human.
No.
But he's like there's almost a human tribute act going on, isn't there? I mean, it's human dilemmas, they're human stories.
Yeah.
He professes a love for humanity. He wants to be there, and he consorts with humans, travels with humans, and speaks human.
Does
So I
he
guess-
want to be human?
I don't think he does.
He likes being.
No, I think he wants to go home.
Oh.
Is what he wants. But don't tell anyone.
It's just between us.
That's what I've always thought. He's almost fugitive. He wants to go home, but he can't go home. Anyway, but that's another human story. Anyway, so he's not. I don't know.
It's not that.
It's almost there. You know, he's amongst humans, and sometimes is taken for human.
Yes.
So that's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's in them. He's among them, but he's not one of them. That's even more interesting.
Sorry, do you mind to chip in?
Sure, go
No, I've been playing the joke, but there's an interesting tension, isn't there? He occasionally gets furious with humans for their lack of humanity,
That's right.
which is such such an interesting
That's
idea,
right.
isn't it?
And almost futile, actually. You know, it's like they say, like a sailor complaining about the sea. You know, what's the point? You know, humans are just. There's nothing he can do about that.
No. But it's the two hearts, isn't it? He has this huge sort of wealth of all the wars that he's come through and the things that he's seen, and his depth of humanity is astounding.
But you're right. You know, I mean, it's almost like the way often like foreign people can describe your country better than you can.
Yes.
You know, you think of Dan. What's his name? Who wrote the American who wrote those books about England? Dan. Bill Bryson. Yeah, Dan Bryson. You know, that kind of thing. I think the Doctor performs a similar function in that, he can. That's what he's there for. But he ain't human, which kind of lets him off. But you're right too. I think sometimes he's more human than humans, or wants to be, So that's that. That's a long-winded answer to your question. But it ain't difficult. That's because it's. I suppose it would be different if you were. Well, you've got to play a proper, full-on alien.
Right.
That's harder. The Doctor's
Was
easy.
Laura from a low-grav planet or a high-grav planet?
Say again?
Was she from a low-gravity planet or a high-gravity?
Low gravity, yeah.
Low gravity.
It's a very
So you had to be very heavy.
So, it just meant that you leave the planet, the pressure from gravity is excruciating pain. So, in a wheelchair, struggling with a cane, constant pain. So it's a big decision to leave the planet and brave it, to work elsewhere.
Yes. Yeah. And you did that before you did Doctor Who, didn't you?
I don't know. Anyone have IMDb?
Anyone know?
Anyone remember
I'm
my
not good.
career?
I don't. I think it was prior to, because I think we did our movie in '96, right?
Oh my God!
So in '94, I think I did Deep Space, but it's a guess. I don't remember anything. I love IMDb because that's where I can go. Oh, I did that. Okay.
Yeah.
When was that? Okay. That's how I figure out what I've done.
Actually, I've got a question for the audience, which is for those of us of a certain age. Hands up if you bought the VHS before it was on the telly.
There you go.
Excellent. Did anyone get it from HMV in London? It was available at midnight, wasn't it? And yeah, I think the Saturday before. Yes, and then we all watched it on the television later. Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask one more briefly, which is about the casting process? Because I know with Paul that the World and his wife was up for the part, weren't they? And I think your brother was up for it as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
So how did you get your parts? Was it an audition process or? Jemma first, please.
I got a call from my agent offering, and they'd offered the part.
Right.
Ooh.
I know. It doesn't happen very often. I don't go up. I don't get jobs I audition for. I only ever get jobs that
Don't you find as well when you get a straight offer, and they are rare, believe me. Normally, it doesn't matter who you are, you still got to read stuff.
I think they've been through equity for the first 3 series, and they were trying to find somebody they had.
If you get a straight offer, you tend to take them. I do.
Oh God, yes.
The idea that somebody just wants to work with you.
I want to work with you if you want to work with me.
When do we start?
Yeah, right.
No, I wanted to be in Doctor Who for a long time, and I was completely thrilled when I got the call, and I thought it was one episode.
Did you watch it when you were little?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Did you get scared?
I watched it from under the sofa, or behind the sofa.
Best place.
Yeah.
Excellent. Paul, getting cast.
Yeah, the audition we had told
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Many were called, which is one of them, is a big one. I think it took place over maybe a year or more.
Really?
Yeah. And my brother also went up for it, although I didn't know, because we never talk about work. So he didn't know I was up for it, and I didn't know he was up for it till afterwards. No, but yeah, as usual, you get a call, you go and read. What happens is you tend to, or at least you did then before the self-tape. Now, because of the technology now, you don't go into anybody's office anymore. They say, they send you, if you're lucky, a couple of sides of a script, and you've got to sit in your house or get somebody to read with you, and you put it on your phone, and then you go on WeTransfer and you send it to them. That's how it works now. But back then, you would have to go to the casting agent's office where there would be a video camera set up and read with somebody from the office. Rarely, if ever, another actor either. It was always somebody who worked for the casting office or a non-actor.
Or the producers.
Or the producer, the director, yeah.
Which is what happened to me.
Yeah, you'd read with those people. And then they would look at the tapes, And then back slightly, I am old enough to remember a period before that even, before the video cameras, where you would simply go and meet the person who was making the film, have a chat with them, and if they liked the cut of your jib, you were in. That's how it used to be. That's how it probably was for 60 years.
Yes.
But it ain't like that now.
Very impersonal.
It's, yeah.
Daphne, getting cast in Doctor Who. You didn't know what Doctor Who was?
I did not. I was given the script, so I read that, and I loved that whole regeneration part. I thought that was cool. So,
do you remember literally being sat there on those nights, those first few night shoots?
Oh, yeah.
And McCoy telling you the story.
Yeah, you guys were I was catching up as we were shooting it. Yeah, terrifying actually.
Yeah.
I felt the weight of kind of doing it right.
But the idea that you'd taken it, you didn't know what it was.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was awesome. And the part of Grace is the relationship between the two characters was so fun.
It was great.
I wasn't, I did not have access to those kinds of roles. It was unique, Doctor Who, for me.
Yeah.
The tit for tat reminded me of the old black and white movies. It was just fun.
Yeah.
And so that was really attractive.
You would never have seen an episode, well plainly not, you didn't know what it was.
I did not. I didn't know the first thing.
No.
I think the only thing I knew once I read the script, and I think maybe my agent had said, yeah, it's an old series. It ran for like 35 years in England,
Don't forget, when Daphne and I first worked together, it was a TV pilot, it was made with the prospect of going to a series in North America. To find an audience, to locate an audience that Phil Siegel particularly was adamant existed. Sounds mad now because Doctor Who is massive in the United States, but then we were looking for that audience, and that's what we did. But not sufficient of them, so there weren't enough of them, so we never went to series.
Well, the story goes, Universal had Sliders, series that it was on for a season, and they thought, well, if we're going to pick up Sliders, we won't do this Doctor Who.
Is that how it was? I'd always assumed it was that thing about Charles and Di. Princess Diana was married to Prince Charles back in the day.
Right.
At that time. Catherine Oxenberg, they did the thing then, and they made that instead of us.
So that was a double one. This is a new thing. I had not heard
It's a different story. Yours is probably more plausible.
Well, in America, we also aired our show at the same time that they were airing a very pivotal moment on the Roseanne Barr show.
Oh, right.
And that was, so it was about ratings. That was the original story. And then I heard this whole thing about Universal and Sliders.
Okay.
It was just a business decision. We got our one show that's sci-fi, we're not going to do two. So who the hell?
Yeah, I actually remember, this is my tiny claim to fame in the world of Doctor Who, but I remember after the programme was on, writing to the Radio Times about the TV movie, and I said, yes, jolly good, very funny, and they published it, but the last line was, I wrote, can we have a series, please? and that was cut by the editor of the Radio Times. So, within a week, they'd already known it wasn't going to go on to series. Were you disappointed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you going to be in it?
No, I wasn't originally supposed to be a person on the show, if it got taken
Which I was appalled at.
It was weird, right?
I didn't realise that until...
Poor Grace.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah. I would have had to be in like a single issue group and campaign to get you back.
I think Yiji was.
Yeah, it was Yiji.
Yiji was supposed to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the shoot, I was approached and asked if I would be interested, and of course I'm like, well, yeah. But
yeah, it was strange times. Yeah. But like most pilots, I suppose 90% never went to series, never known.
And Jemma, you've been in and out of Doctor, you've been a regular in Doctor Who for 12 years now? It's a long time, isn't it? Since you first were in it.
You proved you're very good at maths earlier on, so well.
Is it?
Yes, 12 years, I think.
Is it difficult coming back to a character, to find it again? When you've done other stuff in between?
No, but it's difficult to that's the tricky part. I think what's interesting is that every time the Doctor regenerates, you have a new relationship.
Yeah.
So it's very each relationship is different, and I get really nervous every time I go back because there's a different Doctor, and will it work, and a different showrunner and a different crew, so I feel I have to prove myself all over again. So I never feel settled in that show, and I think that's not a bad thing. I think to feel settled, it means that you're not being creative. You're not sort of moving forward with something. So I think that unsettling feeling, that's what I tell myself each time I go. I think that's a good thing.
I know I said I'd hand over to the audience. I'm just going to ask one more. Just a little tiny one. Does Kate relate to the Doctor as the Doctor, whoever it is? Or does she have to, God, who's this? What's this person like?
I think every Doctor is different. And the energy around them, that they create around them is different.
Yeah.
And every single Doctor, because it's as Paul knows, it's quite a casting process, and they find exactly the right person for that moment in time.
Yes.
And they are brilliant actors, every single one. And particularly the early episodes I did on BBC, on that sort of quite tight BBC budget, which got slightly bigger towards the end, for sure. But there's very little time to shoot it in, and so you watch these extremely fine actors being so creative, so fast, and I found that really inspiring. It taught me a lot. Yeah. That to be brave, to go with your instinct.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
Right, I am going to shut up now. Questions from the audience, please. And this lady, it's Yvette, and her hand up was up first.
How does it feel playing the daughter of such an iconic character as Stewart?
It's funny, the first episode that I filmed, I didn't quite realise what the connection was, and it was Doctor Who magazine who filled me in on the set. I did have an idea, of course I had an idea, and a sort of a sketch of a familial relationship. But I found, and of course I knew who he was because I'd watched the classic series as a child. But I find it, I love playing the part, and I love playing her, and I love her relationship with her father and her ongoing relationship with her father, because as the daughter of a very extraordinary man, I can relate to it very easily.
You've been in a lot of big episodes with a lot of big spoilers. Is it difficult trying to keep all that secret for so long?
Yeah, what's happening next season?
I can't remember the question. Sorry, that question. I can't even remember the question. What did you say? No, I'm joking. Of course I remember the question. No, I think I should. I possibly had a second career in MI5. I really enjoy it.
Can I just say something? Because it's happened, in a sense, to all of us the same thing. I think there's a difference. If keeping a secret means simply not saying anything, then that's kind of easy. That's one thing. That's what we tend to do. But often the spoilers and the or threats of leaks or whatever, it tends to happen because of the technology. Stuff is on hard drives. Members of the crew and other attendant people have copies of the thing, so that's how things tend to
And by
happen.
mistake.
And that's a different matter. That's really, that's serious. But for us, generally, we just keep our mouths shut about stuff. That's easy.
These days, it's a bit like the moving on with the technology and self-tapes. Every single job you go up for with a self-tape has an NDA attached to it. So it is just, it's uniform, it's part of the job now.
Yeah.
But to answer your question really seriously, spoilers I think are a real shame. Because I think it's, there was a spoiler on the 60th. Somebody got hold of a picture and there was quite a kerfuffle on set. Somebody put something out on social media, and it was okay. It wasn't too bad, but it's of course the audience it wants information all the time. People who love the series really want to know and can't wait to know, but also can wait to know, because I think when you do know, where's the joy in finding and having that Christmas present unwrapped when that episode comes out? So I think it's a real shame. And I think it's really important not to spoil that first experience of that first episode that you have with everybody else. And God knows there aren't enough water cooler experiences anymore that we all have together. And that wonderful sense of community when you know that everybody's being surprised by something for the first time is thrilling. I think that's
a great thing. Do you think as well that because, even technically in the years that you've worked on Doctor Who, for example, do you sense that there's been even a change in the technique? That, for example, it's hard to write cliffhangers now. You can't simply because of the nature of spoilers of the different era that we're in. So even the episodes themselves have changed, or the writing has had to change.
No, I don't think so.
That's as it was before.
I think that's as it was before, but I think...
but that's what's on the thread.
But that's what's on the thread.
We, the spirit, even the spirit of spoilers, it's difficult to understand, isn't it?
It's a real shame.
Why do I wreck it?
I know. I think there's some sort of slightly malicious pleasure, or pleasure anyway, in being the person to attention seeking or something.
And my daughter was on a series called Ghost on Stars, and they had that happen to their final episode. Somebody wasn't one of the actors, as far as anyone can tell. It was somebody from the crew that spoiled it. And that following, it was a spin-off from another show called Power, so all these people, there was a very strong following, very, very loyal audience, and it ruined it. And not only that, what spoiler people accomplish is they make it harder for actors to get the information they need to do a good job of acting, because they won't give you a full script. They'll give you pieces of it because they don't trust you to not let the cat out of the bag, as it were. So,
like Jemma says, they'll only give you those 3 pages when you sign an NDA.
Right. And so you don't know, as an creator person, what you should know when you're going in, because they can't trust you. I hate it. I love what you said about it, because it makes me so angry. It's like, why ruin it for everyone? What the hell? It's malicious.
I had a lovely moment on the way to Jodie's last episode. And I think it was in lockdown, and I came out of my house and there was a car waiting because nobody got trains, because we were all we wore a mask in the car all the way to Wales. It was wonderful. I loved having a car waiting for me outside my front door, my idea of heaven. And I came out, and Matt Smith was walking down the street, and he said a big hello, and he said, "Oh, where are you off to?" I said, "Oh, I'm off to work." And he said, where are you off to?" I said, "Cardiff." And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I can't tell you." He said, "Send my love."
So we're talking about spoilers. How do you feel about the new series of Doctor Who being dropped on Disney Plus at midnight for UK fans, early evening for America, and sort of how that might affect, I guess, social media with spoilers, in that Americans will see it early evening. Okay, it's the same time, but UK fans might be asleep at midnight.
I thought that they were dropping the series at the same time all over the world.
It's the same time, but the time in the UK would be midnight.
Well, they're dedicated, you can't.
At the end of the TV movie, with Paul, with decision.
I agree.
When you leave him, do you go back with Brian? Because we didn't see
No
that.
way! He took everything! No way!
Cleans you out, man.
Yeah, I'm in love with him.
That's the right answer.
Andrew gave his shoes away.
Yeah.
What would change? What would you change? What would you play differently?
What if I played differently? I hope I played better. Yeah, that kind of different. Yeah, definitely. I hope it happens, don't you? Wouldn't it be fantastic? The chief reason for optimism about it. I mean, listen, I've never met or spoken to ever Russell T Davies, but I think he makes one optimistic that this kind of thing could happen. You know, we could all be back in it or get a little spin-off in it.
Yeah.
He knows what people like, he knows his TV genius.
Thank you.
But honest to God, I would just drop everything and just run to Cardiff. Or get them to send me a car.
You're the doctor that sent you a TARDIS.
My question is for Paul, so if you had gone to television series as the 8th Doctor, which of the alien enemies would you most like to face off against and why?
Well, back in the day, you mean, when we were in North America. I've got to say the Daleks because it really, I think until you've faced them, fought them, you ain't really the...
That's right, you're not the big chief.
You ain't the Doctor yet. No. They were and are and remain, the baddie,
The big baddie, yeah.
The big baddie. But I kind of also, I wish, if I ever did come back for another stint, I'd love the Weeping Angel to be in it.
That's
See,
my
that was
day.
my
Yeah.
I just thought that had the kind of, the childlike, simple, horrible,
Creepy.
perfect vibe. Don't blink.
Don't blink.
Yeah.
Gemma, have you done the Weeping Angels? I can't
No.
remember, you haven't.
But in one of my early episodes in Cardiff, I walked around the corner and there was one. Because there was no storage for any of those amazing props. I mean, there was the Doctor Who experience, but anything that didn't go in there was just sort of all around you as the corridors are packed. And I walked around the corner and there was a Weeping Angel, and it gave me they're
Such a perfect band.
they're brilliant, and they're bloody
Well, she used to do the shows, didn't she? There was, she was like the chief Weeping Angel.
Yeah.
I've forgotten her name now. But I know because a few of the shows we went to, she was there.
Sarah Louise?
That's it.
Sarah Louise Madison, she was here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We also had Ellen Thomas, I think she was in Blink. She was in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they wouldn't let her back because, well, anyway, that was another story. But she said she couldn't get into the costume anymore, and so they said, "We're not having you back."
We've
She
all
was very
been
put out. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me mad.
I actually do have nightmares about the Weeping Angels, and I'm 58 years old, and I should be beyond this sort of thing now. But in the nightmares, I tend to get irritated with them. Will you just go away? Sort of thing. Anyway, you don't want to hear about my subconscious. Yes, sir.
Have you thought about what Grace is doing now?
Have I thought about, oh, look what they brought. I'm so special. Thank you. I have time now. What Grace is doing now, I think she's into holistic medicine. I really do. I think she's like into acupuncture and, tinctures and meditation and, she's gone the alternative route. That's what I think.
Do you know anything about medicine?
Not a damn thing.
No. So it was easy to play a doctor.
I don't think I did a good job actually playing a doctor. I really don't. I watched those scenes. Yeah. And I did kill him. Right? I mean, I I did.
So it just happens, though.
I didn't believe the two-heart thing, and so I killed you anyway. You know what I mean? That's not good doctoring.
Yeah, but that's what happens to doctors.
When you're dealing with the, So,
you
yeah.
win some, you lose some.
Especially when you don't believe. I'm like, oh, it must be a double exposure or something crazy like that. That's just not very good doctor stuff.
We believed you, that was the point. We believed.
Oh, you've had lots of great companions on the Big Finish series.
You're about to ask me who's my favourite, aren't you? A spin-off, yeah.
You tell.
Well, the simple answer is, and it's that really maddening Doctor Who thing of there's licensing trouble. Isn't it true that Grace is owned
By Universal.
By Universal, not the BBC, so, they can't make it work, which is why we can't even do Big Finish together or anything. That's really maddening, isn't it?
This is the thing that kills me though. What was the episode that you did where you mentioned every single companion except your companions?
I know.
What was that show?
The Night of the Doctor.
The Night of the Doctor. He goes through all, that blew me away. I mean, they couldn't even mention Grace and Shane Lee because of Universal.
Because some lawyers would have got interested in it. I mean,
isn't that crazy?
that's the answer.
In the last episode, he was in the giggle. Of course, you was with the toy maker in the unit base, where you did that spin, and like you got spun round by the toy maker.
Oh, the dance.
Yeah, the dance. How long did that
To
take?
spice up your life.
Yeah, to spice up your life. How many takes do you think that took for you to do that?
I think we got it in one.
Such is the calibre.
That's why they just offered it to me.
Daphne, do you prefer to play Deep Space Nine or Doctor Who?
Doctor Who. You prefer to play Deep Space Nine or Doctor Who?
Oh, Doctor Who. For sure. Yeah. No question.
One for Paul. Would you ever come back to Doctor Who?
Yes.
And one for Jemma. Out of the Doctor Who eras that you've been in, which episode was your favourite?
Oh, God. Each in their own way. They're very special to me. But I can't pick. It's like choosing your children. The 50th and the 60th probably. I thought they were. I think they were my favourite, probably.
I think my favourite that you were in was probably the 50th anniversary. I think.
The 50th.
Yeah.
Playing the Zygon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love them both. The 50th and the 60th. They were both epic and extraordinary.
Is there any indication from Russell T Davies that there might be a unit spin-off series?
I will be completely honest with you. I haven't heard anything. There was something in the paper about, I don't know, a few months ago, and a picture of me saying spin-off, and somebody in my book club got in touch, put it on the book club thing, with a picture saying, really nice pic, brilliant, that's great, isn't it? That's some work coming up. And I said, I don't know, I'm going to call my agent. So I did call. She said, I'm going to have to call Andy Pryor. I don't know anything about this. So I called my agent called Andy Pryor. Andy Pryor called, it's like a sort of shaggy dog. And the answer is, there is no. If you want to petition Russell, please feel free.
Who's your favourite doctor to work with? Because you've worked with 7, I believe.
I truly have loved working with, what I said earlier holds. I think they're all absolutely brilliant. And I've loved working with every single one of them. I guess Matt, because he was my first dance partner, and Jodie, because that was an extraordinary thing to work with a female doctor. And there was one point when I looked around the room and there was Mandy, Janet, Sophie, me and Jodie, and the entire, all the actors on set were women, and that was kind of really, that was a very special moment. It was good. And it's like that. But I truly have loved working with every single one of them. I think they're all absolutely brilliant. Swear word brilliant.
Paul, if you did do a spin-off or return, would you wear a wig?
Not that wig. No, not that wig. I'd get a proper one made. Not that one. Not that old plastic.
It didn't fit.
It was horrible.
You had to glue it.
Really, yeah.
And it made your skin, it was a thing.
I was like a facelift as well. Like
That's what I'm saying. You know what? I feel bad about this to this day. When we were all in the makeup and hair trailer, and you took your wig off, and you said, "It's me, permanent wrinkles on my face," and you were freaking out. And whoever I was standing next to, we just cracked up. We just laughed at you. It was so mean. Luckily, it went away, but we just laughed up because you never complained about anything. But when you were like, "I'm permanent wrinkles." So funny.
Anyway,
sick.
If they made a better one, yeah.
I've always wondered, when you get to set, do you get a choice of the outfits, or do you have to wear what they provide for you?
It's all, there's a costume meeting a few weeks beforehand, and you discuss the script. Well, having said that, it's always blue and it's a suit, but it's just, they're different. There's different.
The other thing I was just going to say is there a favourite piece of yours that you've worn over the years?
I kept the coat from the 50s.
I was going to say, do you get to steal it? Yeah.
I didn't steal it, I paid. It was almost my fee.
Well, you know what? If it's made for you, why not?
It was beautiful. It wasn't made for me, but it was a beautiful, beautiful coat. So yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Like most actors, you've probably got lots of stuff that I have.
I don't go shopping. I find it so exhausting going clothes shopping. I never know what to wear. I'm much better if I'm dressed by a costume designer. So I just keep them.
Keep them.
I don't, my fellow calls it shoot loot.
For a few years, I took to looking after the books, they used to press the centre with us, weren't they? When we moved into the house we're living in now, the empty shelves. And on film sets, they buy books by the yard.
Great books.
They literally buy by the yard, don't they? And
that's really interesting.
I used to fill the boots of the car with these books. I mean, how cheap is that? Actors are just magpies.
We watched the TV movie last week.
Oh.
I hadn't seen it for quite a while. What struck me with your doctor was how passionate he was. He was very joyous, and was he written as a romantic, or was that something you brought to the role?
I think I remember a conversation with Philip Siegel, who basically produced and made it, and was the chief reason that I was in it. He persuaded me to be in it, and he was adamant that it was or should be, at least for the pilot anyway, a romantic figure. It was a word he used. I kind of just silently disagreed with him. I didn't quite, but nevertheless, that's what it was. And he was, and that's why he made me wear the wig and all that kind of thing. Whereas I was going, now I had the kind of, I had hair not much longer than yours is now. Seriously, I played the soldier boy, so it was really, it was like, it was cut off. But he wasn't having that. He said, no, it's got to be soft and the clothes have got to be this and it's got to be romantic. Had we gone to a series, then I could have argued the toss with him. Perhaps played it differently, but at least for that, it was a romantic thing.
What did you cut your hair for? What role was that? Was that the alien thing? Was it Alien 3?
No, I'd been in the desert somewhere playing a...
Chris Ryan.
Chris Ryan, that was it.
See, there's always somebody who knows what we've been doing.
But when, that reminds me, like when... What's Barnaby's husband called? Barnaby Edwards' husband. He's going to curse me.
Barnaby Edwards' husband.
Who's Barnaby Edwards' husband? Nick Pegg. When Nick Pegg wrote the biography of David Bowie, Bowie rang him up.
Right.
To thank him. For, like he said, there was a 12-month period in Los Angeles that Bowie couldn't remember anything. And Nick said he actually called him up.
Thank you for filling in the blank.
This gap of about 10 weeks that I didn't have a clue. He said, I know I was there, but I don't know what I was doing.
Paul,
all of you have wonderful hair, always have, I imagine always will do, but is it your own like styling or do you have a stylist?
Who cut your hair? That was the question.
Do you have a permanent hair cutter?
No, I go to the shotgun barber that my kids go to in Bristol. That's it. 15 quid. Did you not? Why pay more? No. If I was a swanky actor, maybe I'd have a stylist on that. Because some of them do, don't they? Swanky actors have people that look after that kind of thing.
I have heard tell.
We met a few in our time.
I cut my own hair, if anyone's interested. I'm not kidding you.
Of all the outfits that you wore in the 8th Doctor, which one was your favourite?
Well, that shouldn't be difficult because I only had 2. I think 3, is it? Yeah, okay. I was just testing you. Pedant's revolt. I think the one I wore on Day of the Doctor, when Jodie's last, that one. I like that one. I think because it was the most recent one. That's me fave. I've got it somewhere as well. I've got a copy of it somewhere. We liked it so much. We had a version of it made.
You also worked for Night of the Doctor as well.
Yeah, kind of a really similar one. Yeah, this was a kind of beaten up version, like he'd literally been in the wars, which I quite liked, And it was like going back to your question before about the romantic. It was as far removed as you could get from that, kind of pristine costume that I wore in the pilot. And this one's kind of beaten up. It's more like real clothes, I like it like that, as you could probably tell. We should ask you questions one of these days. We could throw you a few real curveballs, I tell you.
It's been an absolute pleasure, hasn't it? And we show our appreciation.